Many people ask the question, how to transcend the mind? Many people ask the question, how to transcend the mind? But what you're really asking, how to transcend the influence of the mind? And the easiest way I can tell you, let mind dance in your presence, but don't identify. If you hold on to this simple truth that you are the witness of the dancing mind, or the screaming mind, whichever way you want to say, you are the witness of it, and that it cannot exist without your noticing of it. This is a very important thing, and keep yourself to yourself in it. Be the space in which the mind appears. It's not difficult. You have this power. Naturally you have this power. You see, it only needs to be exercised. And what will happen is like this, because we have heard how to kill the mind, how to conquer the mind. No violence is needed. No violence is needed. Simply stay as the self, as the witness. And you know what will happen? When mind is allowed to dance and to scream and to whatever, without your identifying with it, the most powerful instrument against the mind is your detached response. Your dispassion. It's a killer. Because when you say everything can be, those negative states have nothing to hook onto, negative or positive. And so what happens is they just fade from lack of substance, because they didn't connect. It's like one hand clapping. That hand is the thought arising, and this one is the belief. Then you can have that. So don't fight with the thoughts, let the thoughts happen, let the feelings happen. The reason why they have such a bite, such significance, is because you identify as the one they're happening to. Only thoughts that have a strong suggestion for identity, they're the ones you get stuck with. The thoughts that says something about you, oh, something about me, yes, then you get stuck in it. And this me, no one figures out that this me is also thought. It's also thought construct. But this is not any other regular thought. This is a 5-star thought. And the beingness has fallen in love with, it has tremendous affection for this thought, this I thought, and it doesn't want to give it up. It wants to know itself, but it's also want to be married to this vampire. And it wants to have nice sleep. It is like that. And that is what the risk feels. Because your I thought, the I belief, the I concept, contain all the juice of your story, or your projection, your dream, and you don't want to separate from the dream. You feel, without my dream, I have no life. But with your dream, you have no life. You have a life in waiting. But we can't give it up. And all of this is just the difference between this and this. That's all. Between this and this. A twist of consciousness. And everything comes crashing. I don't know if I've put it across in the most appealing way. I don't always use the best examples. There's no part 2. Thank you. The one who is living, to bring that one down himself, would we take the risk? And it's the only time life becomes deeply exciting for me. You know? Is that will you take the risk that you might vanish? If you're only doing the things to secure that at least everything can go, but at least I'll still be here. Must you at every cost save yourself, and who are you? You see? Because if at the end, it's just that there's still somebody here receiving a gift, and well done, you did really well. Who is this one even now? Just to look, you see. Is that as far back as we can go? Is that our finality? Is the ultimate discovery of self still this little guy behind the curtains, or what? I just feel something. How deep is the compulsion within to really get complete clarity about what it is that's here, who we are in this body, you see? How quick are we to make an early handshake before the deal is signed? How far do you want to go? I don't know why I'm asking these questions, because I don't even care for your answers even, actually. For the answers. The questions are very important. The questions alone are confronting something. Because we carry a kind of fear inside. Because as far back as I can remember, I was afraid. You understand? From I was a child, I think I was afraid about something. That maybe the body is going to get dropped. I remember I used to have this feeling that one day, if a tree fall down and I'm really near the root, will I get crushed? I was thinking that kind of stuff. I was as a child, maybe 8 years old, thinking about this. Look at this big tree, thinking if it fell down and I'm right by the root, will I get crushed or something? Always something, Or is this encounter with another human being, is it going to be painful or is it going to be nice? You see, like this. Somebody goes, Tony Muyang, can I speak with... I don't like the tone of voice. I know this tone of voice. It means that, somebody's going to squeeze your nuts, So, there was always a little bit of fear. And I see that this is something, this fear and this desire are very powerful forces operating in the human expression of consciousness. Maybe in all sentient beings, all sentient expression probably are ping-ponging between these two things. Desire and fear. Will this thing be good, nice, or will it hurt? So something is going there. So I wanted to know if this is the totality of all that matters in the existence. Is that all that I am? A unit for tasting fear or desire. You see? And what is the fear and the desire, you see? Was there a way out? Because it felt like, is there a way out? Is there something beyond this thing, you see? You meet some people, they really hate human beings. Because it's, in a sense, the human being is a kind of a global image of a small self. So if I don't love myself, I can't love anybody. I actually hate the whole lot of you. It's like felt like this, no? If I cannot love myself, then who you can love, And who is the self in here to love? But yet at the same time, the love actually arose inside, not as an action, but as a kind of being. There was just kind of love, unexplained. Why I love you, why I feel this love for you, or is there you independent of me? Because something in here is saying I, and feels very, very potent, and recognizes through some intelligence that something is saying I with equal respect and purposefulness in another body. So is this I more, is it unique and different from that I? Is there a difference of I? Sometimes these questions come, and inside they kind of pull something into some depth or something. So you are right when she says, in a sense, the questions are just refining something. They are bringing again the mind back into emptiness. And when emptiness is experienced and felt and recognized again, all that was busy is drowned in that emptiness. And in that emptiness alone, the peace is shining without any molestation. A joy, a space, a natural feeling of compassionate love or something is there by itself. It's found, not created. It's discovered. It seems that this must be something that must happen to us. It's like you go to the market, you see some banana, you say, oh, they look nice, but you don't see the banana, you see the banana skin, no? And you look at the banana and say, wow, they look really good. But you don't eat the skin, but the skin is all you see. And so you think, okay, but you like this banana? Okay, eat the skin. It's an indication that maybe the fruit inside is in a good state or something like this. So the banana skin, in a way, is this kind of dynamic life that we see, which is smell, taste, touch, how you move, must be somehow a reflection of a deeper awareness which you don't really see. The physical body makes the quality of the awareness inside visible, isn't it? Just like you cannot see the wind, but you can appreciate how it's moving because how the leaves are moving. You say, oh, look at the wind. But nobody can see the wind. You can only see the effects of the wind. So this body allows us to see the effect of the understanding inside us, isn't it? The movement of this body, the behavior, the fragrance that comes out gives an indication of the quality of the consciousness inside. Because each one is a fragrance. Each one is the fragrance. You want to see your life? You are your life. How you smell and taste in this moment. This is your life. There's nothing more than it. When people say, oh, the world is like this and the world is not. It's your world is like this. Your world and your experience of it is like this. There isn't really a world independent of your perception of it. And that world is always changing. Whenever you're feeling blue, your world is blue. Whenever you're feeling red, your world is red. And then you're trying to get other people to say, look, it's red, isn't it? And I say, no, it's actually pink. And I think, oh, but you don't know what you're talking about, you know. And so conflict comes because no one acknowledges that your world is private. And can only be what it is when you vanish. You see? It can only really be what it is when you are out of the picture. As long as you are there, meaning you as mind, then the world will always smell like your mind. So you have to get out, and then what is left, that is something very different. So I don't know, this is what I'm burping up at the moment. Well, what time is it?
It's 5.
I need to go and have a bath. That to say yes to your being, it's so powerful, this, you know. Don't say, what am I saying yes to exactly? No. Something, an intuition is inside that really understands this type of thing, but it doesn't understand it just conceptually. It understands it beyond concept. It's a very pure thing, you know. You're saying yes to existence, saying yes to your truth, which is closer than intimacy. It means inseparable. So when I say hold on to the being, I want to know if you really understand what it means, you know. When I say understand, I don't mean here, understanding in the mind, but really understand intuitively. There's a sense about it, you see. It is like a mother having a new baby, and she brings the child up to the breast for the first time. She doesn't have to teach it how to suckle. It's something primal in us. So when I say hold on to the being, something primal in you must know what it means. You know, there is no technique about something like that because it's so innocent and it's so natural. So hold on only to your being, and something appreciates that aspect within ourselves, this indefinable, appreciates this type of statement. Hold on only to your being. It means that all the noise of the mind and the thoughts, they're coming and going. They're kind of drifting through the space of consciousness like clouds passing in that infinite sky. And some are moving very fast, but it says hold on only to your being. And then what is the inner response to this advice, you see? It means don't pay attention to this. Don't follow those thoughts of clouds, those cloud thoughts. Let them happen. But sometimes when you have a sense of who you are, a context for your being, then somehow it produces more kind of attractiveness to the concepts. Because the personality, the ego, uses concepts to build and construct identity. But not so for the consciousness. The consciousness doesn't need to construct any identity. So it can make use of thought, but it won't be intimidated by thought. It understands thoughts just like the clouds. The clouds are part of the sky, but no cloud can stay. You cannot fall in love with a cloud and say, will you come back tomorrow and see it? It just won't happen. So thoughts are like this in the conscious mind. It doesn't have any appointment with any thought. They come and go. They appreciate it in the moment, and then when they go, they go. But when you have an identity, it's like you create a relationship, you see. And then the thoughts become seasonal. They come around, they keep coming around. Because they received food last time around, somehow it seems to come. So hold on only to the beingness. Hold on only to your being. Nobody can describe this. Please leave everything to be. Leave all the thoughts. Leave all the feelings. Because your attention with the feeling, your identity with the feelings, energizes them. And they become much bigger. It magnifies the feeling. And then you have to deal with that magnification. But when I say hold on to your being, there's space in that. You simply, it's almost like you let go without letting go. Holding on to the being means you let go without fingers. It's like it somehow doesn't have any hold on you. Just you are. The human being has two aspects. There's the being and the becoming. There's the beingness and the becomingness. The becomingness is a strong aspect of the mind. The beingness is an aspect of the consciousness. It means what is. The mind is what can be. It's a potential of becomingness. So, you see, when I say hold on to the being, everything is abandoned. Where do you have to move to hold on to your being? Nowhere at all. It means somehow leave everything to be. Let them move about. Don't manage, don't control, don't manipulate. Don't search for any position. Stay as you are. At a certain time, you will not need lots of advice about anything. In fact, you don't. Your beingness doesn't really need it. Only little reminding, not even teaching, just reminding. No, but you're not that. It's okay. All this idea about making strenuous practices to become what you are is all the mind's invention. It's not true. But if you believe it, then you believe it into existence, and then you have to struggle in that world to kind of fulfill those concepts or to defeat them. That would be your option. But as the self, who needs option? And you see how simple it is, how simple the world can change. From the position of being someone living life to that which just is, in which life play. Just a twist of attention, and what a big difference from being in a suffering state to being in the eternally pure and untouched state. What distance will be traveled? I say only the distance of a thought, nothing more. Such is the power of thought. But thought only have power with belief. Without belief, thought is nothing, just possibilities. So these are really fundamental reminders, observations, that when we pay attention just to these few things, it cleans up the rest. There are some moves you make, they're worth 10 points. Some move you make, you feel like you take 3 steps back. Some move you make 1 point. Some things you understand, it's like 100 points for this one understanding. And this is why I say that in ordinary life, in real time, according to many people, you may take quite a long time to process the stuff that your mind brings up and you believe. It may take generations, lifetimes for some people. We say we've been in this journey of existence many times, many bodies. That's one way of looking at it. But it can certainly take a good time processing the stuff that we have imbibed, which are in a way like psychic debris, you see? But in your satsang, just by being quiet and paying attention to yourself, all that gets processed automatically in compressed time like this. It's like washing your jeans by hand. When you're working with this person, trying to become a better person, trying to get over this thing, trying to change yourself. It's like washing your jeans by hand. When you understand what you are, it's like throwing everything into the laundry. Automatic washing machine. You happen like this.
Well, you say like the way you drop that, like the quality of man can change so much through enlightenment.
Oh yes.
Because in everyday life, through certain qualities I've seen in myself and made really strong effort to change. And changed it. It took me about 10 years.
Yes.
Of really strong effort. So by this one move, so many qualities can change in a minute.
Yes, because basically you're trying to change a concept about a self, which itself is a concept. You understand? It's like you're trying to work on a self, changing the concept of a self, which itself is a concept. So you see the struggle already. I used to say, how do you heal a ghost with anorexia? How do you give medicine to a ghost with anorexia? You're trying. You do all this exercise, all this medicine to cure that which doesn't exist. But somehow we can't really embrace that somehow, because it feels like, but I do exist. But I do exist. And what does it mean, I exist, you see? It's subtle, but I would like to take a few minutes to try and tackle it with you, what I'm speaking a bit, Because sometimes you might hear you don't exist, and it sounds very dismissive and so on. I don't mean it like this. You can say you do exist in the form of your ideas about yourself, but it's a very limited existence. You see? Because even if you say something doesn't exist in a way, it's only in comparison to what do exist. It's only because you know about existence you can think about non-existence. So they kind of work together like this. So I don't want to make a kind of spiritual cliche, or it doesn't exist. What it means, it doesn't exist. It means that in your mind, you think that it is like an unchanging fact who you are as a person. But more, it is like an ever-changing self-portrait. It's not fixed at all. Every moment you are different and fresh. The only thing that makes you feel that you're consistently the same is memory. And one more thing, because the identity you wear as a person is rooted in the beingness itself. And it's the beingness that is real. But the becomingness you are focused on. I want to say it another way. The reality of the ego is only standing on the reality of the self. Because the ego cannot exist without the self. Actually, what you're in love with is yourself. But who you think you are is your ego. We don't like to say that with words, but that's what we are behaving. That you're this body, and you are your conditioning. We are what we believe, what your parents told you, where you grew up, what you're used to eating. All this makes you. In a way, it is true. But what you are is you are the consciousness that has adopted the mind and the body identity and the conditioning and education that arose with that identification, and take that to be yourself. But because all those things I've mentioned, they're fluid and they're always changing. It's always changing. So you're more like a verb than a noun. You see, you're not fixed. So what makes you think you're fixed? You're fixed because the beingness is more stable. That's the part of yourself that is observing everything. Initially, you're actively observing, and then gradually you come to be passively observing, meaning that without effort, you know that you are the awareness in which life is announcing itself to you. You understand? Life is reporting through your senses, through the mind, somehow, because without you to say that it doesn't exist, it has no registration. I want to show you, this is why I said how important you are. You are the center of your world. And that's even from a personal perspective. The world that we are experiencing is through our conditioning and your projection. That's the world we are tasting. They say, when you burp, it smells like what you've eaten, isn't it? So whatever concepts you've taken in, that's what you believe, and that's what your life will be, what you believe in it. Where to go with all of this? Something quietly lets go of carrying and associating all these concepts, carrying this folder. It just relaxes, and it's not holding on to any residential concept. You understand what I mean when I say that? It means that you don't have any favorites. Okay? No favorite concepts. Okay, some we are accustomed to, and you can say superficially you have favorite concepts. Okay? But intimately and essentially you're not bound with any concept. Meaning that you can let go of them. It's like the example we were giving about the football match. Momentarily, I'm identifying with, Ghana. Yeah, like Ghana to win. But if I took it too seriously, my pain will be corresponding to the intensity of my identification. You see? But if you take it playfully, then you feel a little ouch. Oh, God. But then next minute, you can go and have a patty and have a cocoa bread and a cup of tea, and you forget all about it. But if you're deeply identified with any concept, then you have to suffer that concept. We're just looking at things, as how these forces have worked and operated within our life. They don't have independent power. You see, a thought cannot think itself. It simply arises, and something gravitates towards this thought as a possible suggestion, and then embraces the thought, because I like this thought, and so that thought becomes part of your family, your conceptual family, isn't it? And then something gets constructed with that, another thought comes, and the sense of yourself grows. It's just for us to understand this, because if you understand it correctly, then somehow you can disengage You can disengage, you can enjoy, but you can also leave. This is important. That you may enjoy, you can experience, you can taste, but you must also be able to leave things. You have all this traffic of concepts floating around in your head. But you must also be able to bring everything to silence. You have this power. Can you imagine? All the sirens are going off in your head and there's nothing you can do about it. So what do? You jump off a bridge because you don't have another option, you don't know. In satsang you learn to bring everything back to silence. How you do it?
It's not doing. It's not
by not identifying as this thing is happening to me and going into all of this drama. It's simply recognizing that, wait a minute, it's somehow, this is all just a movement occurring spontaneously. You know? Even the most virile concept about me, maybe a concept like the fear of rejection, very strong concept, based upon identity. No? But when that snake bites you, where will you go? You have to be able to take that also back to emptiness. You can do it. When I say take it to emptiness, you understand what I mean by this. How are you going to go back to emptiness? You have to see that you never left emptiness. There's no you to leave it or return to emptiness. What leaves or comes back to the emptiness is only the attention. And the attention is such a potent instrument of ours that we call it I. You call your attention you. So when the attention goes, you say I go. But the attention goes. And you are the witness of attention. It's subtle. But the minute we see this clearly again, you're out of the trap of attention. It's amazing. This is how the biggest battles are fought here. The biggest battles is not out there, not here. Just seeing. And this is what was the greatness of the sages. They were contemplating these things. So a thought pops up and it was observed, see that what real power does it have? Because if a thought has real power, independent of me, then that thought must have the same power in everybody. Can you see what I'm saying? If a thought had autonomy, if a thought had its own independent power, it means that that thought, anybody who had that thought will suffer exactly the same way. But some people, this thought, oh my God, you give this man a peacock feather and oh my God, oh no, don't touch me, no. Another one, what he does is stick it between his ears and he has a beautiful day. Is it got anything to do with the peacock feather? You see, it's just in the mind how we taking these things. You just need to pointing it out. Hold on to your being. What do you mean? What is your being? Even we don't have to explain. You explain just becomes too much trouble. It's an intuitive thing. If I say, hold on to your silence, and you let your mind turn it into a technique, you're in trouble. It has to be an intuitive thing, something, a deeper knowledge and awareness understands this. And it simply takes place. How? No technique, it just simply takes place. But if you identify only as flesh and blood, then you have to do flesh and blood work. If you identify as consciousness, you simply understand, and a response happens spontaneously. And so in a sense, we have a kind of option, where you place your identity, where you place your attention. Then there's a stage beyond all of that, where attention, inattention doesn't matter at all. It doesn't exist. It don't exist in the mind and the consciousness. To be still or not to be still doesn't mean nothing at all. To be awake or not awake doesn't mean anything at all. Nothing means anything at all. This is the most holy, the most high state. So where is that state now? Is there a state living by itself waiting to be discovered somewhere? Obviously it's just all that is happening is somehow something is peeling away what appears to hide. Huh? And I said appears to hide because the absolute cannot be hidden. From who? From what? Hidden. It's only hidden as long as there's a belief that you are an object. Then they can be hide and seek. When this idea is exposed, then one finds that there's nothing to do, there's nothing I have to do, not me as a doer. But nevertheless, activities are happening, breath is happening, taste is happening, joy is happening. All these can be happening. But guess what? They are not deeply significant. At the moment, they seem deeply consequential. Some thought, oh my God, your universe is crashed because of a thought. And the belief in the thought. Not because of the thought, but the belief and the identification with the thought. At the moment we're talking about these things, there will come a time when you won't talk about these things. No need. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. You see, sometimes I start to, I'm on a roll with these things. And it's like, making available all that is there. That's it. And it is a sort of joy in that. Because when I feel your space, it's like I'm speaking to your space. And then sometimes I feel your space. You see? And when I feel the space, I don't have to ask if you understand or not. Because I know understanding on some level has occurred. The purest understanding, not intellectual understanding. Not information, not a passing of information. An intuition, an intuitive communion. And the outcome of it is just this uninterrupted space. I know you're home. Not to show you home, you're home.